that as a threat. It was like, hold on, what y'all doing over there? You know what I'm saying? Y'all might surpass us. That's really what white supremacy is about. It's not about them knowing that they're superior. They know intuitively that if we're on equal playing terms, things really don't look too good for them. Like I just seen a post, Asians and whites feeling discriminated because black people are getting into more Ivy League colleges. It's crazy, bro. I don't know what the problem is with us, bro. I don't know what we did to anybody. But like I say, man, things are kind of getting on the equal playing terms, and that white mediocrity is dying down. So not a lot of them come out screaming, y'all seen like Charlie Kirk was. This was a man that dropped out of community college, talking about black women with degrees, high places in the work field. He's calling them DEI heights. The whole time this nigga was a community college dropout.
The man we know as Chuck the Builder was involved in a shooting outside of the Montgomery County Courthouse in Clarksville. It's not too far away from Nashville, but you probably recognize the name because you've seen this guy traveling around Nashville or other parts of Tennessee using the N-word, to create viral moments for clicks and likes, all that type of stuff. Some sort of argument or whatever happened right outside the courthouse, and Chud, otherwise known as Dalton Etherly, opened fire. From what we understand is that he shot this other person, and he may have grazed himself in the process. Both people at this point.
Dumbass, how the hell you shoot yourself too? Then you let the blood finish.
Are in stable condition. I believe the other person was life-flighted to one of the hospitals. And so it's a serious situation. This is the same person who was walking around saying all sorts of racial comments to people while carrying a firearm. And so he sent me videos of this guy doing all of this stuff, asking, okay, so what are my rights in this type of situation? Well, I had to reach out to one of the attorneys here, David Raven, who told me, okay, well, you need to look closer into disorderly conduct. And I think most of us probably think of disorderly conduct as someone just walking around Broadway drunk, shouting things or whatever. But what he explained is that disorderly conduct, actually applies to a number of different things. Let me just read one real quick. Any person who shall disturb the peace of others by conduct or fighting words calculated to provoke violence or violation of law. In other words,
sorry to interrupt you again, but self-defense, first off, is very state. Also, it's not as simple as just, my life is being threatened. In some cases, if someone breaks into your home, you can't shoot him. Like, self-defense is tricky as hell. So the fact that he's going out in public and he's saying something, a word with a lot of history that was once used to demean black people, right? And then when they react, he shows his gun. You're clearly trying to catch a free body. So seeing everything broadcasted online, I'm glad he didn't kill him, man. But if you would have killed him, that would have been a murder charge, bro.
If this person is saying things to get a reaction out of you, knowing that it could put you in harm's way, well, then that would apply for disorderly conduct. And disorderly conduct is just the tip of the iceberg. The other person involved in all this was seriously hurt. One of these people made it abundantly clear on their Twitter that their intention was to harm a person.
Serious reality is dead champ on the pavement, and you monkeys riding when I walk through. Stay tuned.
Color. They could look at this man's past videos and notice a pattern of escalating tension to the point where this felt like it was bound to happen one way or another. When people don't walk away, he calls the cops. So what I'm suggesting is you call it. Put them on the spot. Like, say, hey, let me explain to you what happened. Let the cops handle that. The cops at this point know this person's name. They understand what his game is. Like, they know what he's up to. I just don't think that enough people understood that they had rights to. If this person or any person is saying these things to try and get a reaction out of you, to force you into doing something where you could end up putting your life in danger, don't even chance it.
So this right here is a photo of the brother that was shot. Big shout out to him too, you know what I'm saying? I feel like he stood on business, but I understand, man, you don't know what people deal with. You don't know what people go through. This is why you be nice to people. Chud the Builder maybe called this man the N-word. He already having a bad day. You feel me? Maybe lost his job, dealing with depression. It's a cold world. And I also learned that he was a Army veteran. So this is a man that fought in the military, maybe dealing with PTSD, a real patriot. After this, he went to jail, and this is the bond hearing. And I find it funny that he has to face another black man, too, by the way, right? Like, this just icing on the cake. But let's see what the judge starts with, or set his bond.
Set it just a bond on that. We have our bail room, we can make all the arguments with those who have sentences and statutes and see if that's the number up or down.
Yes.
I'm going to set initial bond at 1.25 minutes.
Damn!
Hey,
that nigga hit the Charlie Kirk. That nigga hit the dog meat. Nigga know he could.
Wait, 1.25 minutes. based on the fact that many people in the courtyard were
Hey, look at the black man. Hey, bro. He's telling him what to do now. So we have a tweet right here that I've been seeing a lot. Chud's bill is $1.2 million for shooting a black man who attacked him. The black man is still alive. Carmelo Anthony's bill is $250,000 for stabbing Austin Metcalf unprovoked. Austin is dead and buried. Black privilege is one of the biggest problems in America. Oh my God. This is what race baiting looks like. For one, you gotta understand. Carmelo is a 17-year-old boy with no past criminal, activity. He comes from a great two-parent household. And he's talking about unprovoked. You know what I'm saying? That whole situation. I'm gonna make a video on that. Shout out to Carmelo, by the way, free bro. But versus Cut the Builder, who is someone who just got arrested, a few weeks ago for dining and dashing out of a bar. That's strike one. You just got, released from jail, and you already out again doing some bullshit. Also, he has drug charges. He's 27 years old. And you can just look at his social media and see that the things he's doing, he's causing problems. He's wasting resources because the police have to keep coming, out to deal with him. So this is why his bail was high.
We just got hold of an arrest warrant for Dalton Etherly that reveals new details, including the name of the man that he got into an altercation with. He's alleged to have shot, and he's facing this very serious charge of attempted murder. That other man has been identified by Montgomery County officials as Joshua Fox. We also got a narrative here within the affidavit that gave a lot more details into what happened outside of that Montgomery County courthouse on Wednesday. Officers noted that they watched surveillance video, and in that video, they saw that this started out as a verbal fight, that Etherly turned toward Fox and then reached for his firearm. And then a physical fight ensued. Etherly, according to this affidavit, then shot Fox multiple times. Fox was then airlifted over to Vanderbilt Hospital where he underwent emergency surgery. Now, Etherly live streamed himself, the interaction on audio, the interaction that he had with first responders shortly after he's alleged to have shot Fox.
He said, "You start saying all that to me, I'm gonna hit you. You hit me." Started wailing on me even after I had to defend myself by shooting.
Lying.
Still wailing.
Now, in that live stream, Etherly says that he didn't start shooting until Fox started to beat up on him. But it's important to note that in the actual narrative of the affidavit, officers note that in the surveillance video that they witnessed, this never turned physical until Etherly pulled out his gun. Of course, we've reached out to his attorney for comment, but again, this is a live streamer who's made a name out of himself, out of essentially rage baiting, saying vile content, of going up to people, especially minorities and black people, calling them the N-word, calling them chimps. So there's been a major backlash from the community about this individual for a long time before this happened.
Now check this out, y'all. This man has GoFundMe. And if you see at the top right, he has raised $239,000. Yeah. This is America in 2026. We're going to go through all of the donations, but how many of these are people walking amongst them? This is hilarious. This nigga said, Christ is king. What type of God do they be worshiping, bro? Like real skill. I can't be associated with anything that they believe in. I'm sorry. The First Amendment is for a reason. The Second Amendment is just in case the first one doesn't work out. Freedom of speech does not allow you to be a bigot. I'm sorry. Dog, we are all praying for you. You will get through this, brother. You can overcome anything because you have the Holy Spirit in your heart. What the fuck is y'all niggas on? The Holy Spirit. So the Holy Spirit walks around antagonizing black people. White solidarity against anti-white hatred. Defend our communities, our culture, our children from indoctrination and demographic replacement. Other groups do it without shame. We shouldn't have to pretend ourselves. No more special treatment for violent blacks. Should acted in stealth. These people are delusional. And just the amount of brain comments, y'all. Like, what type of God do these people believe in where, and like, man, but like I said, bro, Christianity is not for black folks. I don't know how many times I gotta tell y'all this shit. Yeah, bro, this is America in 2026. We see time and time again how these people truly feel. They may smile in our face in real life, do all of this, but behind closed doors is how a lot of them feel. And as far as the N-word, y'all, I don't care how anybody feels about it. It's disrespectful. Yeah, black people, we changed the meaning around, we call each other niggas. That's different. The reason I feel the way I feel about it is because my ancestors that had to hear that word on a daily basis had to take it. They couldn't say nothing. If they said something back, they would get beat, maybe killed. You know what I'm saying? Just had to take it. So we in 2026 now. So some white boy walking around saying N-word, no. We're not gonna do no kumbaya shit over here, boy. And like I said, Chud knew what he was doing. He been going to the hoods and saying that when he would have been got popped. Yeah, dog. We live in crazy times where instead of going after the oppressor who was the one going around calling people the N-word, people are just mad at us for not taking disrespect. So man, yeah, bro, logic falls out the window with these people. They are everything that they accuse us of being. Chud is a deadbeat dad, don't have a job, criminal record, to sell drugs. Everything that they claim we are, he's that. You know what I'm saying? Instead of him being in his child's life, he's walking around stirring up confidence. You know what I'm saying? Like, what people talking about something with racism, bro? What is up with these people? I'm sorry, bro, man. That's pretty much it, though. If y'all want to finish this, and check out these closet homosexuals and white supremacist. Everybody and their mama been talking about Chud the Builder and everything that happened with it. I'm late to the party. I tell y'all all the time, but I take social media breaks all the time just for my sanity. With the type of content I make, it can be draining. So it's nothing for me to take a couple of days off of these social media apps. No IG, no TikTok, no Twitter, YouTube occasionally. So I did social media for about 2 to 3 days, and I hopped back on it last night. I went on Twitter, and I'm seeing all of these old posts about Chud the Builder, he's in jail, he got shot, he got this, he got that. I'm like, whoa, we was just talking about it. It happened already. Like, I knew something like this was going to happen.
Now, something really interesting has happened with the release of Season 8. In the Battle Pass on page 10, where the Star-Lord skin is, there's actually this collectible you get. Now, I usually don't pay the collectibles much attention, but this one I thought was really interesting. This one is the Punch Kenobi. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Punch Dimension is supposed to be where Cyclops gets his ability to be able to shoot his optic blast from, and that's kind of its own thing over the years that some writers have kind of tried to veer away from that and change it. I think they say that he like absorbs solar energy or something like that, and that's how he's able to use optic blast. But there are comics and stories, and you can actually find it in the Marvel Wiki, the Marvel lore pages, and all this kind of stuff. Even the official Marvel handbook still has that as being, where he gets his power from. Now, when you read this, it says, held captive by Alchemax, Cyclops was subjected to a brutal experiment. His eyes were forcefully open, charging with optic blast into Chronobi. Now, the thing that makes this collectible so interesting is that there's a giant plus symbol. Now, the thing is that the plus symbol is usually a sign of two things. One, either a basic addition in math, or basic sign, universal sign for healing, right? Now, in the last video that I did about this, I thought it was really interesting because there was a lot of people, even though a lot of people thought, yes, there were a lot of people who thought he should be a tank. A lot of people thought he should be a support. And in that video, I wasn't saying that he's supposed to be one or the other, or I was predicting him to be one or the other. And really in that video, what I was trying to do was get people to open their mind and understand that the problem with this game being a hero shooter is that while most of the more popular characters in comic books would usually be classified as DPS, yes, there are characters that be classified as tanks and characters that be classified as supports or strategists, whatever you want to call them. If we were to take every single character that's a household name and extremely popular in the game and actually make them a DPS, that wouldn't really be good for the life of the game, and it wouldn't really be fun overall. I understand there's a lot of people that are very tribal and they like to separate the roles and think one is better than the other, or that this one should get this character, or whatever the case is. But overall, though, we have to start balancing out the roster, and the fact that there are so many DPS in comparison to tanks and supports, you're going to start seeing a lot more characters come to the game where people will start to sit back and feel like, oh, this character should have been a DPS. Why are they a support? Why are they a tank? And the fact that they purposely made this a multiverse type of game to where characters that we're getting in the game aren't necessarily their usual Earth 616 counterpart, like the characters that we're normally used to getting with the same backstories. So it gives them a lot of leeway and wiggle room to change and evolve characters and adapt them to the game so they can put them in certain roles. But with seeing this new collectible, it's really got me thinking that they're really just mentally preparing us for the fact that Cyclops might actually be a support. So let's talk about it. YouTube, what's going on, man? It's Father Dark here on a beautiful Friday afternoon. We're always having a great week. It is a brand new season. If you're not excited about it, I recommend you go ahead and get excited about it. Let's go ahead and get into this and talk about it. So first things first that I want to kind of get out of the way is in the previous video, I try to read all of your comments. A lot of times it gets to be too many, but I do try to read and respond to most of them. And like I said, one of the things that I found really interesting was the fact that there seems to be a lot of people who have kind of like a misunderstanding about the naming of the role in the game. So, for example, a lot of people were saying, well, Scott Summers is known to be a master tactician and strategist, and that's what the role of the game is called, is a strategist, so he would have to be a strategist. Now, the thing is that does not necessarily, that's not exactly what they mean when they say strategist in the game. The name strategist is more to say that
you have the ability to fight back. So it's up to you to strategize how you want to handle certain situations in the game. It's not necessarily a reflection of that particular character. So I'll give you an example. Cloak and Dagger are not usually, no one is sitting back saying Cloak and Dagger are master strategists in the game. Nobody's saying that about Lunas. Nobody's saying that about Mantis. No one's saying that about, Jeff the Landshark, right? So there are, you can't necessarily say that like, oh, well, this person is usually a strategist, so that's just a set condition as to why they would be a strategist in this game. And I understand that is misleading for a lot of people, but it just kind of takes a split second to kind of use that same logic and reasoning and apply that to the character. It's kind of the same thing with tanks. A lot of people will say, well, a tank in the game is a leader. They're in the front of the team. They have to lead everyone. So that means that any character that's a leader has to be a tank, and that's also not true. There are plenty of characters who are DPS that are leaders, like Reed Richards. White Fox, currently in the game with her lore, is the head of her organization, and she's a strategist. So once again, you can't use certain logics like that and say, well, that is the reason. Now, are there certain tanks that are leaders? Yes, you have Magneto, who's a leader. But at the same time, you have Thing and Thing and the Hulk. And neither one of them are leaders, right? And go on and keep using this same rationale right here to kind of say, okay, well, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. It really is up to NetEase at the end of the day how they want to interpret stories. And sometimes they do have the ability, like if you were to take Gambit, for example, there actually is a period of time in the comics where Gambit was able to unleash his full potential. But the Gambit that we're used to, he doesn't actually use his full power set. This is something that happens a lot in comic books, but it was something that was specific to Gambit, where you had so many people that were so just gung-ho on the fact that, well, Gambit has to be a DPS. All he does is blow up stuff. But the thing is, like I said, comic books have spanned over so much time, and there's so many different people that come along and have these kind of like one-off storylines or one-off comics where, like I said, with Gambit, where he actually does end up going to Mr. Sinister and having his full potential completely unlocked, and he actually is able to heal people. So they took a similar story. You take someone like Daredevil, where they say, oh, well, why is Daredevil so powerful in this game? There is a period of time where Daredevil in the comics actually does, get taken over by the Beast, and he does get heightened powers and abilities and all that kind of stuff. Definitely a great run of comics. I'd recommend it if you haven't read it. So the point that I'm making here is that there are a lot of exceptions in the comic books where you take someone who's maybe not necessarily usually as powerful as they are in this game, or they're more of a street level character, and they end up getting, heightened abilities, or they get possessed by something and it makes them stronger than normal. Kind of the same thing with Black Cat. Black Cat, yes, she had powers of like bad luck, but at the same time, though, would be able to find times in the comics where maybe she stole something and it's given her special abilities, an artifact or something like that. And that's just what they decided to go with in the game, because if not, she would just kind of be boring and underwhelming compared to other characters. And that's, like I said before, is that a lot of exceptions have to be made in this game to make it to where, one, roles are balanced, and two, that it makes sense for this character to even be in the game to begin with. And to me, that's something that I kind of enjoy about the game, is the fact that it is more of like a multiverse type of thing. So as long as they don't stray too far away, it's like make someone just ridiculously overpowered beyond what they would normally ever be, or you fundamentally change who they are at their core. I have absolutely zero problem with them doing stuff like that. But like I said, though, with Cyclops, it really wouldn't take much for them to sit back and change little aspects, or say that he's been infused with Chronovium, and now it gives him the ability to use the Optic Blast to heal people. And really, I do think that if they were to make him a support, you wouldn't have to worry, because he probably more than likely would be like a Deadpool or a Gambit or something like that. Or even an Ultron. Ultron is a really good example of like these off supports, where they're like basically DPS pretty much, but they have like an option to be able to do something to heal. So it's really not that crazy to me, or far-fetched to say that they could do something like that. And this, what's weird to me, is that there's so many people who seem to not be able to understand the pattern recognition here. How you have a lot of characters where, if I was to show you this game a year ago, and I actually show you the game, but just show you like the roster, I didn't tell you who was DPS, who was a tank, who was the support. I would say, hey, take these characters based off of what you know, what you understand about them, and put them in certain categories. Things would look a lot different. And I thought after the whole Gambit situation, because I saw how so many people were like, there is no way. I'm not saying it was everyone, but it was like 99% of people were like, there's no way that Gambit could be anything other than a DPS. And then once he released me as a support, people just kind of got over it. The same thing with Deadpool. I told people ahead of time, I said, hey, look, it looks like what they're going to do with Deadpool, because they keep swapping his roles around while they were teasing him prior to him actually releasing. I was like, hey, it looks like he might be the first character that, you know, breaks the fourth wall here in the game and that actually is every role, right? And there was multiple ways that I thought it could be done. One of the ways that I did think it would be done was them just filling all the different roles. But at the same time, though, it's really up to them at the end of the day, kind of like what direction they want to go with, what they feel like is best for the life of the game overall. And we are at a point in time where it's something that people have been talking about for a long time, is that there are just too many DPS in the game. And we do need to start balancing out these other roles, because there's really only so many characters that you can realistically play with certain comps before you kind of run out of options. And that starts to get boring for people, which is why certain people don't want to play certain roles. You know, we've had a tank shortage for the longest time. Every match that I load into, there are plenty of people that want to play support, plenty of people that want to play DPS, but you pretty much have to like threaten your team with not going tank at all if you can't get 2 tanks. And then magically people know how to play tank. And it's not that people don't know how to play tank. It's just that they're kind of bored with the options that they have. They have like, I'd say realistically like 4 options that you can really pull out without people kind of looking at you and saying like, oh, you're throwing this match. And that's not fun for anybody. There's a reason why most of you don't want to play tank. But now they introduce a cool red dinosaur, and now everybody's going to play tank for a while until they inevitably get bored and go back to playing whatever they're doing. Because that tends to happen most of the time. Most people like to be in their comfort zones, and once they have to step outside of their comfort zone, so, you know, it is what it is on that. But at the same time, though, we do need to start bringing more and more interesting characters to different roles, so that way people start really wanting to play those roles. But at the same time, I do get how sometimes, like, I remember when Gambit released, you had a lot of people that were playing support, but they weren't actually support players, so they were really just playing DPS with Gambit as a support. And I am kind of worried, like, if he was to be a support, if that's what could happen. But, you know, ultimately, though, I think it would be good for the game, though, if he was a support or a tank. And that's overall what matters. A lot of people are very selfish, you know, think about themselves. And, you know, I see a lot of people that are just like, oh, well, you know, you guys don't need anything else. He has to be a DPS because, like, he shoots optic blast, and that's what he does. It's like, brother, who cares? You can still play it. Like, why are you afraid to play another role, man? Why are you afraid that the character might be another role? And even if he is a DPS, okay, whatever. But at the same time, though, like I said, the point still stands. They can realistically do whatever they want to do with characters in this game. They can change them however they want, whatever. And like I said, it's really not that bad of a thing, because when you are a support in this game, you still do have a lot of agency. A lot of people don't seem to realize and understand that, and they're constantly it's like, brother, you're the problem. You're the threat. You're the person that knocks. Like, just because you're in the hero role in this game does not mean you are some helpless little person or entity that can't defend themselves. Like, so, you know, is what it is. But let me know in the comments, though, what you guys think. Do you think that's just something that they randomly put there for the collectible? Do you think they might actually end up being a support? Do you think it's just cope? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. I do love to hear from you. I'll try to read all your comments. I'll try to respond to them. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up, though. That's all I got. I do want to jump into the new season and try some stuff out. But I do appreciate you all for listening. I'm Father Dark. I'll catch you in the next one.
We're here for our... What's going on? I've had a lot of people message me and ask me a very simple question. How do you make videos so fast? Really, 2 videos a day. It's amazing. How do you do it? There are many things that come with video editing. It's basically a video editing video for people that suck at video editing and are super lazy. So if you don't want to know about video editing, click off the video, or if you just want to hear the total sound of my voice, go ahead and just comment, like, and go on about your business today. And keep me on the background. I'm very sick and minded of the content. That'd be lovely. What I just did there is called a pin burn or a keyframe. See how it moves to my face, then it zooms back out to my regular speaking face. And then with this instance right here, I've made myself smaller. Now I'm back to regular. That's called faking dynamicism. You can make your video more dynamic simply by doing a simple edit like that. Or another strategy I use at the end of the sentence, they'll keep a few seconds of the previous clip while the person's talking in order to show dynamicism as well, like I just did there. It's very easy to do that if you don't want to do the cuts and keyframing and all that jazz. It's a very easy thing to make the video seem a lot more dynamic. Those are probably the basic and most simple editing tips I could probably give you, but I'm going to show you these tips and show you how to do that right back. The instant I get a clip in my timeline, the first thing I like to do is make the volume a bit louder so I can actually see a little bit of red. The instant I see a little bit of red on one clip, I stop right there, because then it would get too loud. I then increase the the distance and showing exactly where I begin speaking. And this is very important. You want to get to about exactly as soon as you speak and cut out all the fluff. Cut out any of the fluff in between. There's a lot of fluff in between when I speak and say words. For instance, I speak right here. Hey, what's going on? Right there. Hey, what's going on? Boom. Now I have that clip. Easy work right there, right? Boom. And then because I wanted that to be the intro, I zoom in on my face ever so slightly. And then I grab the next clip. And then it looks dynamic because I do this. Hey, what's going on? I've had a lot. And then it goes back down. It goes this, and then it goes back down. It looks dynamic. It looks like the camera's moving. It looks like I'm doing something actual. When I'm doing nothing. For this clip, I don't want to do anything. So for the next one, I then proceed to do this right here. And then I can grab this. This is on CapCut, by the way. Boom. So now we have dynamicism. And the flow is still just like this. Observe. Hey, what's going on? I've had a lot of people message me and ask me a very simple question. How do you make videos so fast? So boom, we have that right there. So now we got a few edits right there. Now this is as simple as I can possibly describe it. On CapCut, how to keyframe is super simple. I'm going to move this a little bit over here. You grab this part right here. This is the beginning of the clip. And then you go down right here. And then you end right there. And you go to the end of the clip right here. And then you click transform again and you change what the keyframe to be. I usually like to make it about 125, right around there. And that makes the clip as if it's going in. Boom. Make the camera look like it's moving, and it keeps going out. And then boom. Right there. And I can keep going with transforming things, seeing that variety, and it keeps moving. So that's how simple it is. It's that easy. And then I keep pushing and moving. Boom. And now I have that. So this whole clip you saw in the beginning, you saw how good it looked. It's as simple as that. It's simple as that. Now, you want to listen back to what you're doing. There are many things that come with video editing, and this is basically a video editing video for people that suck at video editing and are super lazy. So if you don't want to know about video editing, click off the video, or if you just want to hear the sultry sound of my voice, go ahead and just comment, like, and go on about your business today, and keep me on the background. I'm very sick and monitored content. That'd be lovely. I'm not going to edit this clip because it's too long, and I just did one beforehand, and it doesn't go for the flow of the video. But for another sentence, I don't even care what I'm saying in this clip most of the time. I'm simply going to just edit it in the way that I see it. But because I said something I was going to specifically edit, I'm going to tell something. What I just did there is called a kin burn. So in this one, I actually said I was going to kin burn.
These are real blood dudes. We box. We get on the hands in the grass. You say, oh, we real blood? Let it go break it. You do not want to box. You're not no real blood, so don't bring me up in that shit.
Somebody lost their life. Somebody else is sitting behind federal walls right now. And the streets are putting pieces together faster than the blogs can even keep up. This situation moved way past rap drama a long time ago. Now it's real consequences hitting real rappers real time. And every new headline makes the whole story look even darker. We're talking about Honeycomb Brazy and Sauce Walka, two artists known for speaking raw and living reckless. This tension between them just crossed into dangerous territory. One man lost his life. Another was seriously injured in public. Federal authorities got involved. Both of these rappers have been moving through non-stop pressure for so long that chaos started looking normal to them. Sauce Walka, March 22nd, 2025, downtown Memphis, Tennessee, right outside the Westin Hotel in broad daylight. Reports say two men exited a white vehicle and the incident quickly escalated. This artist, Say So P, real name Latorian Hunt, only 27 years old, lost his life at the scene. Sauce was hit in the leg during the attack. The entire area instantly turned into a scene filled with police lights, panic, and confusion everywhere. Memphis PD later described it as a targeted incident, meaning investigators believe this was planned, not random at all. Then there's Honeycomb Brazy. December 2023, Interstate 65 near Mobile, Alabama. Authorities pulled him over and reportedly found a Smith & Wesson AR-style pistol within reach inside the vehicle.
I don't know what the bone. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's crazy, though. Then I'm like, everybody weird. Like, I'm like, bro, I've been through some real shit. Like, you can't just you can't hit no nigga phone and tell the nigga I'm finna pay you to, hey, stop hanging around Honeycomb. I mean, you gotta give me every Matter of fact, bitch, I'm not even finna pay a nigga. Man, I want to smack you on the screen. Dog, my grandma, I'll make y'all kill her before bro, I will make y'all murder you today.
Federal investigators have been monitoring him for years already. In July 2024, he pleaded guilty to a federal firearm charge connected to possession restrictions tied to a prior felony case. The judge scheduled sentencing for October, with a possible sentence ranging from 2.5 to 3.5 years behind federal custody. Now, the spotlight is back on another major legal situation. Two rappers, two different cities, two completely different cases, but somehow both connected to street politics, online feuds, neighborhood ties, loyalty rules, years of tension that kept building since at least 2021. Now, everything is crashing together in the worst way possible. People really need to hear the full picture, because most headlines are only showing part of the story. The news will report that Sauce Walker was injured during an attack in Memphis. They'll mention Honeycomb Brazy dealing with a federal firearm case, but they usually stop there. They don't break down the timeline, explain the connection, or show how all these situations started stacking on top of each other over the years. Now, let's get into Honeycomb Brazy's background, because understanding where he came from explains why his story hits so different. This isn't somebody who simply created an image for music. His life experiences shaped his reputation long before rap fame ever showed up. Born Nashawn Jones in Mobile, Alabama, September 15, 1993, his upbringing came from an environment filled with pressure, survival, non-stop challenges. Mobile usually gets overlooked when people talk about major rap cities. Everybody mentions Atlanta, Houston, Chicago, or New York first, while Mobile barely gets brought into the conversation. But the streets there carry their own intense history, complicated neighborhood dynamics. Different groups, rivalries, and local affiliations have been active there for years. Honeycomb Brazy grew up surrounded by all of them. Happy Hills area, formerly known as Africa Town, a community with deep historical importance that still doesn't get the recognition it deserves today.
Don't put me in a rap shit by no nigga. In my shop with bro, let me do it. The Asian man you hang with, man, ain't nobody nothing in my shop and nothing to my party. When it comes to you say, oh, real blood, you know real blood do. Call somebody in California say can tell you what real blood do. These are real bloods do. We bop. We get on the hands in the grass. You say, oh, we real blood? When it comes to you do not want to box you. You're not no real blood, so don't bring me up in that shit.
Honeycomb Brazy's early life was filled with instability from the very beginning. His father was serving time in prison, and his mother was also incarcerated. So he ended up being raised by his aunt, along with his grandparents, Tony and Layla Lewis. Those two would later become part of one of the saddest, most emotional moments connected to his story. We'll get into that later. When he was only 13 years old, reports claimed his father, while calling from prison, pressured him into a violent situation involving a family dispute over stolen money. His cousin survived, but was left permanently injured. After that, Honeycomb reportedly spent time avoiding authorities and trying to survive on the streets at a very young age. By the time he reached his early 20s, he had already faced multiple prison stints, along with serious legal accusations involving robbery, assault, narcotics, and firearm-related. One major charge was eventually dropped, but the damage surrounding his reputation had already followed him everywhere.
Joshua, don't never
The
do that.
environment he grew up in shaped his mindset in ways that couldn't be recreated for music or entertainment. That's why so many people view his lyrics as authentic. Rap wasn't just a hobby or side dream for him. Music became his way to escape a cycle that kept pulling people around him into trouble. He spoke about that struggle openly in the song. And everything changed in 2018. This track, Freestyle, exploded online, pulling in millions of views. Suddenly, putting Mobile, Alabama on the rap map. Huge growth. By 2020, legendary music executive Jay Prince, founder of Rap-A-Lot Records, decided to sign Honeycomb Brazy to the labels. That was a massive moment. Rap-A-Lot had the skinniest history in hip-hop culture. For many people, that signing proved industry veterans saw real talent, real life experience in it. Now let's talk about Sauce Walker. Born Albert Walker Mondale, June 29, 1990 in Houston, Texas. He came up in South Park, Southwest Houston, an area known for its strong culture, deep loyalty, its own set of neighborhood rules. If you know Houston rap history, then you already know that city is different. This is the home of DJ Screw, Scarface, UGK, and Pimp C. Houston never waits around for trends. Houston creates them.
He is a bona fide rap sensation with millions of views for his music videos. But investigators say this group, known as the Sauce Factory, is a documented gang. The group's name even mentioned as part of a recent federal court case involving Channel 2 investigators began digging into the Sauce Factory back in July. Tonight, investigator Robert Arnold talks with the Sauce Factory's leader, who is responding to the allegations.
Sauce Walka grew up surrounded by all that influence and profit. He first started rapping around 2007 under the name A-Walk while representing a Houston group called Most Heard. Then by 2014, he switched things up, rebranded himself as Sauce Walka, teamed up with Sancho Sauce, formed the Sauce Twins, launched his own independent label, Sauce Factory. That move helped him build his own lane without depending on major industry backings. He kept dropping mixtape after mixtape, building a loyal audience through broad personality, non-stop confidence, and music that felt true to Houston culture. Then in 2015, everything got louder. He publicly challenged Drake with a diss track called Whack to Whack over the back-to-back instrument. Sauce accused Drake of visiting Houston events, borrowing parts of the city's sound and style, not properly showing appreciation to the artists and culture that helped shape it. The internet instantly exploded with reaction, debates, and non-stop commentary. Suddenly, Sauce Walka became a name people all over the country were talking about, instead of just Houston locals. But Sauce Walka also built a reputation of being outspoken and confrontational. Back in 2009, he faced a serious legal case connected to an incident at a concert hosted by Trey the Truth at Texas Southern University, where another person was reportedly injured during an altercation. He later pleaded guilty, sentenced to community supervision instead of prison time. By 2018, Texas court documents reportedly described the Sauce Factory as a documented organization allegedly connected to criminal activity. Sauce Walka publicly pushed back against those claims, saying it was simply a music label, business group, not a gang. Still, rumors, street talk, police attention around the name continued getting louder. Sauce Walka never tried to present himself as polished or industry safe either. He had Sauce tattooed across his forehead, built his entire image around being outspoken, fearless, impossible to ignore. Whether people respected it or criticized it, he leaned fully into that identity, zero hesitation. Honeycomb Brazy and Sauce Walka came from different cities, had different styles, but they carried a similar mentality, staying authentic no matter the pressure or consequences. By 2021, both artists were surrounded by growing controversy, non-stop tension, dangerous situations. That's when their paths started crossing, ways that slowly created real friction behind the scenes.
Prison today. Brazy, his real name is Sean Jones, pleaded guilty in July to possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. The gun wasn't his, but it had reached in the vehicle he was riding in and got pulled over in December of 2023. Two armed men in that vehicle who were hired to provide security admitted they were prohibited from having guns. Jones' attorney says his client's grandparents died in 2021 when the gunman fired into their house and caused an explosion. And that Jones has faced constant violent threats.
Then came November 2020. Honeycomb Brazy was casually talking to fans during an Instagram live session. Sudden gunfire erupted on camera in real time. Viewers watched the entire situation unfold live online. Reports later said he was injured during the incident. Many people watching, that moment completely changed how they viewed his lifestyle, because it showed the danger zone wasn't just rap lyrics or internet hype. It was something following him constantly. By that point, Honeycomb had reportedly survived multiple violent incidents already, but seeing one happen live online shocked people across social media. Then came February 17, 2021, what many consider the most heartbreaking and devastating night connected to Honeycomb Brazy's story. Honeycomb Brazy reportedly had a long-running conflict with a man named Darren Southall, who authorities described as an alleged drug trafficker from Mobile, Alabama. According to reports, that tension reportedly traced back to a serious 2016 confrontation with Ladarius Moore. Investigators said Moore had gone to confront Honeycomb over a personal dispute connected to a woman both men were involved with. The situation escalated violently. Moore lost his life during the encounter. The homicide charge against Honeycomb Brazy was eventually dropped due to the circumstances surrounding the case, but many believe the tension connected to that situation never fully disappeared. Reports claim Darren Southall, who was related to Moore, carried deep anger over what happened and wanted retaliation tied to the situation. Around that same period, Alabama rapper OMB Peasy, who was closely associated with Honeycomb Brazy, allegedly posted messages online that were seen as disrespectful towards Southall's circle. According to court testimony and investigators, both Peasy and Honeycomb were difficult to locate at the time, which allegedly led certain individuals to target people close to him instead. Authorities later accused Terrence Wyckoff, Marcus Chambers, and Patrick Lewis of going to Honeycomb Brazy's grandparents, Dr. Thomas Avenue, for the vehicle. Reports stated that Honeycomb was on a video call of a terrifying situation unfolding. Prosecutors said the men arrived at the house and began firing into the residence. Tony Brooks, Honeycomb's 62-year-old grandfather, was fatally injured during the attack. His grandmother, Lila Brooks, 68 years old, was reportedly inside the home while using oxygen equipment due to COVID-19 complications. During the chaos, the house caught fire and quickly became a gulf of flames. Authorities said she tragically lost her life to blaze, which also spread damage to nearby. Federal investigators were already monitoring Darren Southall's phone calls during the investigation. According to court testimony, authorities uncovered recorded conversations tied to planning the attack.
A community rally in concert on the campus of Texas Southern University in Houston ended in Wednesday night following a drive-by that police believe was gang-related. The school says 6 people were shot and have been treated for serious but non-life-threatening injuries. Witnesses tell police that one car drove by and opened fire on a parking lot where a popular Houston rapper was promoting community service and voter registration.
One detective reportedly told the court that reporters refused to disturb and listen to him. Assistant District Attorney Lewis Walker later stated the home was a target because it would hurt Jones. That statement alone showed how personal and calculated the situation allegedly was. 2 elderly grandmothers lost their lives simply because investigators believed certain people wanted to emotionally damage Honeycomb Brazy. Authorities argued in court that when they couldn't directly reach him, the focus shifted toward the family members who raised him. The entire case shocked the community over how heartbreaking the person became. Honeycomb responded emotionally on Instagram soon after the tragedy. He wrote, "Long live Grandma and Grandpa. Y'all was my heart for years. I put y'all in every song. Hate y'all got caught up in the street. The street hurt. Beg y'all to let me leave y'all every day. Y'all talk to stand that guy." He also spoke publicly about his grandparents relying on oxygen tanks inside the home during the incident. Later, Honeycomb clarified that, according to him, the fatal injuries were linked to oxygen tanks ignited during the incident and fire inside the house. Then things got even worse in June 2021, when reports said his mother's home was hit by gunfire overnight. Thankfully, she was not there at the time, but many people believe the message behind the incident was impossible to ignore. The pressure surrounding Honeycomb's family still hadn't stopped. Now, this is where Sauce Walker's name started entering the conversation in a way that had social media going crazy. By November 2021, Honeycomb was already facing one of the darkest stretches of his entire life, grieving his grandparents, dealing with attacks connected to his family, and sitting back in prison over road violations while everything around him seemed to collapse. On the internet reacted almost instantly once those comments started circulating online. Clips spread everywhere. Blogs picked them up fast. Social media users immediately started debating what was really being said, who the messages were aimed at. Now, to be fair, there are layers to situations like this that people close to the streets often understand differently than casual internet viewers do. But when someone is sitting in jail, unable to respond publicly, and others decide that moment is the
right time to speak of it. People notice that time immediately. An environment's built around loyalty, reputation, respect, perception means everything. It can affect relationships, influence alliances, even shape how people move around in public. So when somebody's image takes a hit while they're locked away, unable to defend themselves directly, that kind of thing can stay on their mind for a long time. Sauce Walker has always built his reputation around being outspoken, rooted and direct. He says exactly what he thinks without filtering. That fearless personality is a huge reason he became popular in the first place. But in situations tied to street politics and rap rivalries, timing can completely change how words are received. Many people online felt the timing of those comments in late 2021 stood out because Honeycomb was already going through so much public.
We said we'd be about 150, 101. On the show, man, y'all already know that.
Fast forward to November 2023, Honeycomb Brazy was released from prison after serving time connected to parole violations. And once he got out, he came back loud, energized, and ready to remind people he was still active in music. He started dropping songs again, speaking openly online, and showing people he had survived one of the hardest periods of his life. Supporters celebrated his release heavily across social media because many believed he had endured more pressure and loss than most people could handle. But while Honeycomb was away, the rap industry around him had changed too. Rap-A-Lot Records had shifted focus toward other artists, including Finesse 2 Times. And now Honeycomb returns with pressure coming from every direction. Old rivals in Mobile, internet critics, industry competition, and ongoing tensions that never fully disappeared. December 18, 2023, a Mobile County Sheriff's deputy working alongside a federal task force pulled over a 2022 Cadillac Escalade in Interstate 65 near the General W. K. Wilson Bridge. According to reports, the vehicle had heavily tinted windows and stayed in the passing lane longer than allowed. On paper, it looked like a normal traffic stop, but when Honeycomb Brazy's involved, things rarely stay simple. Authorities searched the SUV and reportedly discovered a Smith & Wesson M215 8R-style pistols within close reach inside the vehicle. Because Honeycomb was already a convicted felon, federal law prohibited him from possessing a firearm.
For MAGA hypocrites and snowflakes. During the latest episode of Piers Morgan Uncensored, Piers was forced to call out and indeed directly confront the hypocrisy and snowflakery of the MAGA movement following the recent release of the roast of Kevin Hart on Netflix. During this particularly violent moment, comedian Pete Davidson made a very brutal joke about Charlie Kirk's assassination, which triggered MAGA across the board. Ben Shapiro and other prominent MAGA Republicans like Libs of TikTok were frothing at the mouth in rage to dare to make a joke about Charlie Kirk, even as they actively defend edgy, non-politically correct humor about targets they personally find acceptable. Well, on this panel, there were several right-wingers who were very upset and sensitive about this joke about Charlie Kirk, and Piers was forced to confront that alongside comedian and former Trump kiss-ass Dave Smith, who also defended Pete Davidson. And the whole thing is fun. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notifications. There you go. All right, folks, before I play the clips, I just want to give you a smattering of the backlash here. As Fox News reports, Pete Davidson sparks backlash after explicit joke about slaying Charlie Kirk during Netflix roast. Critics said comedian showed no decency, joking about a man whose children will now grow up with a father. Entertainment Weekly did an article about this. Charlie Kirk Show team slams Pete Davidson's distasteful joke about assassination. But Hollywood is a pretty dark place. Ben Shapiro is upset. Media reports Ben Shapiro slams Pete Davidson for Charlie Kirk joke, Kirk's words, both new low. And if you just look at Pete Davidson and Charlie Kirk, a lot of people are upset. Libs of TikTok. Pete Davidson launched Charlie Kirk's assassination. Absolutely sick. Tatum, Officer Tatum. Disgrace. Pete Davidson made a disgusting Charlie Kirk joke. Kevin Hart's words. That was violent. Completely beneath the belt. So and so forth. Right, again, those are prominent Republicans. So again, often, by the way, people who make fun of people clutching their pearls about jokes. Now, they are showing their hypocrisy in Snowflake. So with that in mind, in that context, and you'll hear the joke in a moment, but here's what play it. I want to play some clips of Piers Morgan addressing this, starting this.
That doesn't mean everyone's enjoying it. Jokes about Charlie Kirk and George Floyd, for example, are sparked a heated debate about whether insult humour oversteps the mark, and about the competing hypocrisies of the left and right. Can comedy ever go too far? If the answer is yes, where is that line? You should get to decide. Regular viewers probably know my view. The line is wherever I decide it should be, often based on whether I personally like or know the person involved. And so for a change, I'm going to let my comedy panel have their say.
Okay, comedy panel. Let's go with this. Okay. But Piers is openly owning this, and he actually says later on in the conversation, look, you know, it's all subjective, and you're all hypocrites here to one extent or another, right? I appreciate the fact that he admits this, because he was really upset about jokes made about Melania Trump a couple of years ago, and people had to, like, talk him off the ledge, even though he absolutely would...
The breach of Bodwin.
Tap in. Come in. Get in here. Get in here. We about to tap into the Bill channel. You already know how you give it up. But do y'all remember when Drake was on Ben the Don stream and he called Spotify Spotify? Oh, that was so funny. That was so funny. Wow. Spotify just messed up. And they sent out a tweet. But we got the bill breaking everything down. Check this out, y'all. And this little ninja had a nerve in one of his little Iceman episodes to be burning a bunch of phones with Not Like Us on it, as if Kendrick Lamar is doing the bot stuff. But you just got it. Oh my Lord.
Not even a day later, Drake and Spotify have been caught manipulating the numbers. This album hasn't even been out that long, and they're already getting caught red-handed doing the thing that he already accused Spotify in court. And it looks like Spotify themselves on their official account had just gotten caught doing this. On May 15th, they were trying to claim that Iceman had became Spotify's most streamed album of 2026 in a single day, and Drake became the most streamed artist in a single day in 2026 so far. The problem is that this is not actually true, and Spotify had to correct this information. Spotify comes out here and says the initial stream review process